What's going on YouTube? Your boy Young Mustard is back, and I'm here to talk about the top 10 power forwards in the NBA going into the 2019-2020 NBA season. Now, if you have not seen my last video where I talked about the top 10 centers, make sure you check that out. But before I go any further, a lot of people were getting in so much commotion in the comment section talking about players like Al Horford and LaMarcus Aldridge, and why I had LaMarcus as the center and I had Al Horford not on the centers list. Well, let me make some clarifications before I start this video, because I don't want the same problem to exist in the comment section. These lists are about projections for next year and what positions I think they're going to play and how productive and impactful I believe they will be going into next season. But with all that out of the way, those are the rules for the list going forward. So without further ado, let's start off with player number 10. Now, the power forward that I have ranked at number 10 is Lauri Markkanen. Lauri Markkanen, in my opinion, is definitely one of the best young players in the NBA today. I mean, this guy is really good. One of the most efficient three-point shooters at his age that we have seen over the past, 10 to 15, maybe even 20 years. This guy is amazing from three. And even when you look at his rebounding was something that a lot of people called into question when he was coming into the NBA. But as a rebounder, I think he has definitely excelled in that area, especially when you consider where they place him on the court and where they line him up in the offense. But the two concerns I have for him, which is why he is lower on this list in comparison to other people, one is consistency, because he is obviously young, and the second thing is the defense. The defense is a huge issue for Lauri Markkanen, because let's be honest, he's not the greatest defender. And I guess if I wanted to throw a third thing in there, it would be health, because last year he did suffer for some injuries, and I do believe if he played a little bit more, we would have saw a little bit more success. Not saying we would have made the playoffs or anything, but we definitely would have saw a bit more success in our win-loss column. But I definitely think he is a great young player on the rise, and he deserves a spot at this list at number 10. Coming in at number 9, I have Jaren Jackson Jr. Now, some people may think this is a little bit too high for Jaren Jackson Jr., but I think a lot of people need to understand what we saw in his rookie year. He's only going to build on it. He was an amazing defender. In my opinion, the best defender among all the rookies last season. Also, you can look at the fact that from three, he shot around 36%. He is efficient from the field. He can knock down his free throws. Like I said earlier, he's a great defender. He does everything on the court exceptionally well. Obviously, his rebounding was a little bit down, but I do believe that that will be going up further on in his career. It's not too big of a deal now. And like I said, the sky is just the limit for this guy. I've even made a video about him. I think he has so much potential. The only reason I even have him so low on this list is for obvious reasons, is because he's just not on the level of those other players yet. But I do believe his impact on the court will continue to grow, and adding a point guard like John Morant, in addition to the pieces that they've surrounded both of those players with, I think it will warrant his spot on this list, because I think his impact will only further be cemented in the NBA. But moving on to player number 8, I have Jayson Tatum. Now, Jayson Tatum really has all the tools to be a star in the NBA. We all know. But the biggest problem, and the reason that he's even lower on this list than some people may think, some people may even have him lower, but the reason I have him at this position is because though he is a very skilled player and really good for a player of his age, but let's be honest, the inconsistencies in his game, it is just too much to have him any higher than the players that I have ahead of him. I mean, this is a guy that will be white hot. Then there'll be moments where he'll be ice cold, and it is not a good thing to watch. But regardless of all his flaws and his inconsistencies at times, this is a guy that can go out there, usually on a night-to-night basis. He give you around 13 to 15, and I expect around 17 to 18 points next season. Can grab a couple rebounds and play solid defense, which they are definitely going to need in that front court with Enes Kanter of all people there playing the center position, and I definitely think that warrants him being number 8 on this list. But moving on to player number 7, I have Julius Randle. Julius Randle last year obviously had a career year. Even though I question how impactful he can be on a winning team, I do believe as a scorer he has definitely gotten better year after year after year. He accepted a bench role for a good portion of the season last year, averaged 21 and 9 on pretty solid shooting, and from three he even got better from the most attempts that he has taken throughout his entire career. From the free throw line, he's relatively been okay. So I definitely think as a player, he warrants being on the top 10 power forwards in the NBA. But the questions that I do have about him that kept him from being any higher on this list was one, defense, because let's be honest, he's a little bit undersized and defensively he does struggle in that area, and also his impact. I don't know how impactful he can be on a winning team or a team with a lot of talent to contend for an NBA championship. And him being in New York isn't going to prove anything in that area because let's be honest, the Knicks are trash. But regardless, he is still a great player that has shown so much improvement over the years, and for that I cannot leave him off of this list. But moving on to player number 6, I have the one and only Draymond Green. Now I know Draymond Green is a pretty polarizing player in NBA circles, as last year he definitely struggled and got a little bit exposed in the regular season. I mean, his three-point shot completely dissipated from him, and it's been dissipating ever since around 2017. But when you look at Draymond Green and still what he brings to that Golden State Warriors team, because I know a lot of people are going to say, what would his impact be on another team? Well, he's not on another team and he's not leaving anytime soon as he just signed that extension. But when you look at that impact on that team, he's a great defender, can facilitate really well, arguably the best passer on this list. I wouldn't say the best, but you can definitely make that argument. And though, like I said earlier, he did struggle in the regular season, in the postseason he went back to the Draymond of old, minus the three-point shot obviously, and he definitely showed us that he can still play at a high level whenever he chooses to. And without Kevin Durant, I do expect some of the numbers to go up in that box score. But regardless, great defender, great impact, and has all the intangibles that you want out of any player that you have on your roster. But moving on to the top 5, at number 5 I have Pascal Siakam. Now Pascal Siakam, a lot of people have been debating how great is he going to be now that Kawhi Leonard is left and he is the presumed number 1 option coming off of his most improved season. Now I'm gonna be honest with you, I've already made a video about Pascal Siakam and how great he can become, but I do expect some level of great play next year from Pascal Siakam. I don't know if it's gonna be good enough for him to be like a superstar or even an all-star, but I definitely think that the sky is the limit. But the reason I cannot have him any higher is because in the playoffs, when the lineups got shorter and a lot of people started to focus on him a little bit more, he did become a little bit inconsistent, and I'm afraid some of those things may happen in the regular season next year because he will be more focused on, and opposing teams will make defensive game plans specifically for him. But I definitely think that his talent and what he showed last year and how he's good at everything, he's not great at anything, but he's really good at every single thing on the basketball court, whether it's the offensive end or the defensive end. Combine that with his great finals performance that we just witnessed, I gotta put him into the top 5. Now moving on to player number 4, I have Al Horford. Now Al Horford is definitely getting up there in age, so take what I'm saying a little bit lightly. I could be completely wrong at the end of the season because this is a guy that is going to be 33 years of age next year, but I do believe he has one more really solid year left. And I think that because of the fact that he is going to a team where he doesn't have the full responsibility that he had in Boston. And when you combine that with the fact that Al Horford, let's be real here, his game is not based on athleticism. He's not a super freak athlete. He doesn't have the highest vertical or he isn't the strongest guy, but he is still a great defender. We all saw what he did to Giannis. He didn't shut him down, but he definitely did his part and did the best that he could. And we saw the effects in Giannis's efficiency at times throughout that series. And if we're being honest, he was the best player in that series. People forget that Al Horford in that series played exceptionally well. So I definitely think that consistency is something that he's going to bring to that Philadelphia 76ers team, which they definitely need, and I think that will warrant him being number 4 on this power forwards list. But now as we enter into the top 3, at number 3 I have Blake Griffin. Blake Griffin last year, in my opinion, definitely had the best year of his career, or at least the best year since his rookie season. And it's actually crazy that that's the year that everybody references as the best year of Blake Griffin's career, or even number 2 on some people's list after this past season. But last year, Blake Griffin definitely proved that he can be a consistent, great stretch 4. I mean, he went out there and averaged around 25 points, 8 rebounds, and 5 assists, and also shot around 46% from the field, 36% from 3, and 75% from the free throw line. I mean, this is a guy that over the past couple of years, a lot of people started giving up on Blake Griffin, and the main reason was his health. Now, his health health is still a little bit of a concern for me. We all saw what happened in the postseason. Now, he did only miss 2 games and did play relatively well in the games that he came back from on one knee, but let's be honest here, he more than likely should not have played in any of the games in that series. But regardless, he did have a career year and he deserves this spot on this list. But the reason I can't take him higher is because of a multitude of things. For one, he is not the greatest defender, let's be honest here. He's a little sus on that side of the ball, but the main reason I cannot have him higher than the other 2 players is because I question really how impactful Blake Griffin can be on a serious championship contending team. Though he did have a career year in Detroit, they were the 8th seed and finished with a 41-41 record, which is a 500 record. So I definitely do question his impact, but the fact that he was still able to lead a team to the playoffs with not too much talent on the roster, I gotta give him credit for that, especially with the numbers that he put up. But moving on to the final 2 power forwards, at number 2, I have Anthony Davis. Now, for Anthony Davis's case, and also for the player that I have at number 1, they're in a class of their own. I mean, Anthony Davis, what can I say more about him? This guy is one of the most skilled offensive players in the league. And if I'm being honest, when it comes to talent, there's a huge argument for him being the best player in the NBA. I mean, if you just look at what he does in the court, he's an elite offensive player when it comes to scoring the ball, rebounds at a very high level, can defend and switch on pick and rolls, can step out and hit the 3-point shot, has the mid-range game, the post game, can pass really well, can handle the ball. He can do everything that you want. The only questions that people should have is his impact on the court when it leads to wins, even though I think that he's proven it, but he has to prove some other people wrong, and his health. Other than that, Anthony Davis, one can make the strong argument that he should be number 1, but there's a certain player that just went beyond the mold last year that I gotta put him at number 1, and with the number 1 spot for the power forwards, that goes to Giannis Antetokounmpo. Just like Anthony Davis, they're both in a class of their own. Giannis just won the MVP. That is really the main reason why I gotta put him over Anthony Davis. And Giannis Antetokounmpo, what he accomplished this past season was amazing. I mean, they didn't even make any major roster updates other than Brook Lopez, who definitely did mean a lot to that offense. And definitely with the help of Coach Budenholzer, Giannis Antetokounmpo took this huge step and just shitted on the entire NBA. This is a guy that is elite on both sides of the ball, and that is also another reason why I gotta put him significantly above other players. He plays both sides of the ball at an elite level. Obviously, the hugest weakness in his game is the lack of a 3-point shot, but looking at what he accomplished this past year, leading the Bucks to a 60-win season, the first time in such a long time that they've had the best record in the league, by the way, and also putting himself in the Defensive Player of the Year discussion, and also winning the MVP, which only a handful amount of players can even say that they've done over the past 10 to 15 years in the NBA. I gotta give him credit for that. And then when you look at his skills and abilities, I have to put him at the number 1 position on this power forwards ranking. But you guys, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you drop a like down below. Also, comment your opinions if you think I left any power forward off, or if you don't agree with the order. Let me know in the comment section your own list for the top 10 power forwards. I will gladly engage with as much people as I can. Also, hit that subscribe button and hit the bell to be notified. Follow me on Twitter. The links for my social media will be in the description box. This is your boy Young Mustard signing out. Peace.